Can you just not come tonight? Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper as she adjusted her earrings in the bathroom mirror. You always embarrass me in front of my friends. I stood in the doorway of our soot, still holding the tie I'd been about to put on. The words hit me like a physical blow, not because they were loud or angry, but because of how casually she'd said them. Like she was asking me to pick up milk on the way home. What? I managed to get out. She didn't even turn around. You heard me. Every time we're at one of these events, you say something awkward or tell one of your boring work stories. Melanie and Grace always give me these looks afterward. It's humiliating. I'm 42. I've been married to Lisa for 11 years. We have 2 kids, Sophie, who's 9, and Ben, who's 7. And my wife just told me not to come to a party we'd been planning to attend for 3 weeks because I embarrass her. The party was at Trevor and Melanie's place. Trevor's one of those guys who made his money in tech, sold his startup, and now spends his time collecting expensive watches and talking about crypto. His wife Melanie runs in the same social circle as Lisa. Yoga on Tuesday mornings, wine tastings on Thursday evenings, weekend brunches at places that serve $20 avocado toast. I stood there for another few seconds, waiting for her to laugh, to say she was kidding, to show any sign that she realized what she'd just done. Nothing came. Fine, I said quietly. I set the tie down on the counter and walked out. Thank you, she called after me. I'll tell them you weren't feeling well. That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement that what she'd said might have been hurtful. Just relief that I wasn't going to make a scene. I went downstairs and poured myself a glass of whiskey. The kids were at Lisa's mother's house for the weekend, a sleepover they'd been excited about all week. The house felt enormous and empty. I sat in the living room and stared at the wall, trying to process what had just happened. 20 minutes later, Lisa came downstairs in a black dress I'd never seen before. She looked beautiful. She always did when she was going out with her friends. I'll be home around 11, she said, checking her phone. There's leftover pasta in the fridge if you get hungry. She left without kissing me goodbye. Without even looking at me, really. I sat there for another hour, drinking slowly and thinking. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. It was just the first time she'd been so direct about it. 6 months ago, at Grace's birthday dinner, I told a story about a project at work. I'm a civil engineer. I designed bridges and overpasses. One of our projects had this interesting problem with the soil composition that we'd solved in an unconventional way. I thought it was fascinating. Halfway through, I noticed Lisa staring at her wine glass with this tight expression on her face. When I finished, there was polite silence, and then Melanie changed the subject. In the car on the way home, Lisa said, "Nobody cares about dirt, David." Then she caught herself. I mean, nobody at these parties wants to hear about work stuff. It's supposed to be fun. I'd apologized. I didn't tell any more work stories after that. But there were other incidents. At Trevor's summer barbecue, I'd made a joke about how his new grill probably cost more than my first car. Everyone had laughed, but later Lisa told me it was tacky to comment on how much things cost. At a dinner party at someone's house, I can't even remember whose, I'd mentioned that I preferred reading books to watching prestige television shows, and apparently that made me sound pretentious and judgmental. I'd started talking less at these events. I'd smile, nod, laugh at the right moments, contribute just enough to not seem antisocial. But apparently even that wasn't enough. Around 9:30, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Andrew, one of my actual friends, a guy I'd known since college who lived across town. Andrew, dude, are you alive? Haven't heard from you in weeks. I stared at the message. When was the last time I'd hung out with Andrew? Or any of my friends? Lisa's social calendar had basically become our social calendar. Her friends, her events, her world. Mine had quietly faded into the background. Me? Yeah, I'm good. Just been busy. Andrew, want to grab a beer sometime? Maybe shoot some pool? Me? Definitely. I'll check my schedule and let you know. But even as I typed it, I knew I probably wouldn't follow through. Lisa would have something planned. She always did. At 10:47, my phone started ringing. Lisa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. I declined it. Then came the text, "Call me back now." I took another sip of whiskey and waited. 2 more calls. For texts, each more urgent than the last. Finally, I answered. "What? Where are you?" Her voice was sharp, strained. "Home. Where you told me to be." I meant. She stopped, and I heard noise in the background. Voices. Music. Everyone's asking where you are. Trevor keeps asking. I told them you weren't feeling well. But what? But they're not buying it. Grace saw you at the grocery store this afternoon. She said you looked fine. Melanie's husband asked if we were having problems. I said nothing. Can you please just come? The edge in her voice had shifted to something else. Desperation, maybe. Please? I'll explain later, just. Explain what? That you didn't want me there because I embarrass you? Silence on the other end. The background noise was still there, but Lisa had gone quiet. That's not. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? More silence. I'm not coming, Lisa. Enjoy your party. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. I woke up on the couch around 7 the next morning. My neck hurt, and my mouth tasted like regret and whiskey. I'd fallen asleep with the TV on, some late-night documentary about Antarctica that I didn't remember putting on. My phone was still off. I left it that way. I made coffee, took a long shower, and tried to figure out what I was feeling. Angry, definitely. Hurt, absolutely. But underneath all that was something else, clarity. I'd spent years molding myself into the version of me that Lisa wanted. The version that fit into her world, with her friends, at her events. And it still wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Around 9, I turned my phone back on. 43 missed calls. 67 text messages. 12 voicemails. Most were from Lisa, but there were others too. One from Trevor. Hey man, hope you're okay. Let me know if you need anything. One from Melanie. Lisa seems really upset. Is everything all right? One from Grace. Call your wife. I started with the voicemails. The first one was from Lisa at 11:15 the previous night. I'm coming home. We need to talk. The second one, 11:47. Where are you? Your car's in the driveway, but you're not answering the door. This isn't funny. I'd actually gone for a walk. A long one, through the neighborhood, down to the park, around the lake. I needed to clear my head. Third voicemail, 1:23 a.m. Fine. I'm staying at Melanie's. We'll talk tomorrow. Fourth voicemail, 8:34 a.m. I'm coming to get some clothes. We need to have a conversation like adults. I deleted the rest without listening to them. Lisa showed up around 10. She still had her makeup on from the night before, smudged now, and she was wearing the same black dress under Trevor's jacket. We need to talk, she said as she walked past me into the house. Now you want to talk. She spun around in the entryway. Don't act like I'm the villain here. You humiliated me last night. I humiliated you? By not being there. Yes. Everyone was asking questions. Trevor pulled me aside and asked if we were getting divorced. Melanie and Grace spent the whole night giving me pitying looks. Do you know how that feels? Actually, I said, keeping my voice level, I know exactly how that feels. Because that's how you've been making me feel for months. She stared at me. What are you talking about? Every event we go to with your friends, you spend the whole time monitoring everything I say and do. You critique me in the car afterward. You've made it clear that I don't fit in with your crowd, that I'm somehow not good enough for them. And last night, you finally just said it out loud. You told me not to come because I embarrass you. I was stressed about the party. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You absolutely meant it. And honestly, I'm glad you finally said it. Because now I know exactly where I stand. Lisa's expression shifted. The defensiveness cracked, just slightly. What does that mean? It means I'm done trying to be whatever version of me you want me to be. I'm done shrinking myself to fit into your world. I'm done apologizing for having interests and opinions that your friends don't share. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time we did something I wanted to do? When's the last time we hung out with my friends? When's the last time you asked me about my day and actually listened to the answer? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Nothing came out. That's what I thought. So what? Her voice rose. You're just going to throw away 11 years of marriage because of one comment? It wasn't one comment, Lisa. It was a pattern. Last night was just the moment I finally saw it clearly. She stood there, tears starting to form in her eyes. But I felt nothing. Or rather, I felt everything. But none of it was the urge to comfort her, to take it back, to smooth things over like I always did. I need to get some clothes, she said finally. I'm going to stay at Melanie's for a few days. We can talk when we've both calmed down. Sure, I said. She went upstairs. I heard drawers opening and closing, the sound of a suitcase being zipped. When she came back down, she paused at the door. I do love you, she said quietly. I know, but I don't think you like me very much. And I'm starting to realize I don't like who I am when I'm trying to be who you want me to be. She left without another word. The next few days were strange. I called in sick to work, something I almost never did. I needed time to think, to process, to figure out what came next. I called Andrew. We met for beers at our old place, a dive bar near the university where we'd spent countless nights in our 20s. So Lisa kicked you out of a party at your own request? He said, trying to make sense of my explanation. She didn't kick me out. She uninvited me. Because I'm embarrassing. Dude, You're literally one of the least embarrassing people I know. You're like, aggressively normal. I laughed. It felt good. Apparently, that's not enough for her friends. Her friends sound exhausting. They are. And I've spent years pretending they're not. Andrew took a long pull from his beer. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to try to fix this. We have kids. We have a life together. But another part of me just feels done. Like I've been slowly erasing myself for years, and I finally ran out. Have you talked to the kids? Not yet. They're still at Lisa's mom's place. They come home tomorrow. That's going to be rough. Yeah. We sat in silence for a while, watching a hockey game on the TV above the bar. It was comfortable, easy. No pressure to say the right thing or avoid the wrong topics. Just two old friends, drinking beer, being themselves. For what it's worth, Andrew said eventually, I'm glad you called. I've missed hanging out with you. Felt like you disappeared there for a while. I did, I admitted. I let Lisa's world become my whole world. That was a mistake. So don't make it again. Simple advice. Obvious, even. But somehow, sitting in that bar, it felt profound. Lisa and I traded texts over the next few days. Logistics, mostly. Who would pick up the kids? What we'd tell them. Whether we were going to try counseling or just move straight to lawyers. I suggested counseling. She agreed, but I could tell her heart wasn't in it. She wanted me to apologize, to admit I'd overreacted, to come back and pretend everything was fine. I couldn't do that anymore. Our first counseling session was awkward. The therapist, Dr. Patterson, was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She asked us each to explain why we were there. Lisa went first. She talked about stress, about how hard she worked to maintain our social life, about how hurt she was that I'd embarrassed her by not showing up to the party. When it was my turn, I told the truth. All of it. The years of feeling inadequate, of being told my interests were boring, of slowly losing touch with my own identity. The moment in the bathroom when she told me not to come. The clarity I'd felt when I finally said no. Dr. Patterson listened to both of us without interrupting. When we finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Lisa, she said finally, do you understand why your husband felt hurt by what you said to him? I do, but I think he's blowing it out of proportion. I was stressed. I said something I didn't mean. It happens. Does it happen often? Lisa hesitated. No. I mean, we've had arguments before, but that's not what I asked. Do you often tell your husband that he embarrasses you? Or critique his behavior at social events? Another pause. Longer this time. Sometimes. But it's because I'm trying to help him. Those events are important for networking, for our social standing. Your social standing, I interrupted. Not ours. Yours. Dr. Patterson held up a hand. Let's explore that. Lisa, whose friends are the people you socialize with? Well, mostly mine. But that's because. And when was the last time you attended an event with your husband's friends? Silence. Or asked him about his interests without dismissing them. More silence. Lisa, Dr. Patterson said gently. I'm hearing a pattern where you've made decisions about your marriage and your social life without treating your husband as an equal partner. Does that sound accurate? I watched Lisa's face. She was struggling, I could tell. Part of her wanted to argue, to defend herself. But another part, maybe a part she'd been ignoring for a long time, seemed to recognize the truth in what Dr. Patterson was saying. I never meant to make him feel small, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. But you did, I said. For years. We went to 3 more sessions. They were hard. Lisa cried a lot. I stayed mostly calm, which seemed to frustrate her. She wanted me to yell, to show anger, to give her something she could push back against. But I was past anger. I was in a place of sad acceptance. In our 4th session, Dr. Patterson asked Lisa a direct question. If your husband started coming to events again and behaving exactly as he always has, telling his work stories, making his jokes, being himself, would you be okay with that? Lisa thought about it for a long time. Too long. I want to say yes, she admitted. But honestly, I don't know if I can. Those events matter to me. The way people see us matters to me. And I know that's shallow. I know it's wrong, but I can't just turn that off. Then we have a fundamental incompatibility, Dr. Patterson said. One partner wants authenticity and acceptance. The other wants conformity and social approval. Those are very difficult to reconcile. That night, after the session, Lisa and I sat in my car in the parking lot outside Dr. Patterson's office. I think we both know where this is going, I said. She was crying again, quietly. I don't want to get divorced. Neither do I. But I also don't want to spend the rest of my life being someone I'm not. And I don't think you want to spend the rest of your life being married to someone who embarrasses you. You don't embarrass me. Not really. You do think that. Maybe not all the time, but enough. And I'm tired of walking on eggshells. We sat there for another 20 minutes, not talking, just existing in the space of what was ending. What do we tell the kids? She asked finally. The truth. That we love them. That this isn't their fault. That we're going to figure out how to do this in a way that hurts them as little as possible. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I know. Me too. That was 6 weeks ago. We filed for divorce. It's amicable, mostly. We're splitting custody 50-50. The kids are handling it better than I expected. They're sad, obviously, but kids are resilient. I've been spending more time with Andrew and my other friends. I joined a recreational hockey league. I'm reading more, sleeping better, feeling more like myself than I have in years. Lisa's still going to her events, still maintaining her social circle. We're polite when we see each other during kid handoffs. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about that night, about the party she didn't want me at, about how one whispered comment unraveled everything. Last week, Trevor texted me, "Hey man, just wanted to say I'm sorry about everything. If you ever want to grab a beer, let me know." I appreciated that. I said yes. We met up, and it turned out Trevor was actually a pretty decent guy when he wasn't performing for his wife's friends. He admitted that he'd always found those parties exhausting too. "Melanie's mad at me for staying in touch with you," he said. "She thinks I'm being disloyal to Lisa. Are you okay with that?" He shrugged. "Melanie and I have our own issues. But that's a conversation for another time. I've learned something through all of this. You can't build a life with someone who's ashamed of who you are. You can try, you can compromise, you can shrink yourself down to fit into their vision of what you should be. But eventually, there won't be anything left of you." The moment Lisa whispered those words in the bathroom, "Can you just not come tonight?" something in me broke. But something else was born too. A version of me that remembers what it's like to take up space, to have opinions, to exist without apologizing for it. I don't regret not going to that party. I regret all the years I spent trying to become someone worthy of an invitation. These days, I only go where I'm wanted. Not as some edited, approved version of myself, but as exactly who I am. And if that embarrasses someone, that's their problem, not mine.